Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching from. Welcome to today's session. Today we'll be talking about why you're suddenly struggling to speak English. You want to speak confidently, you want to be fluent, you want to have those conversations, you want to connect with other English speakers, get a better job, a promotion, study at uni, pass IELTS, TOEFL, any proficiency exam, whatever your goal is, right? But you feel like you're stagnating, you're getting worse. Even though you've been practicing for a while, you're not improving, okay? In this video, we'll talk about why this happens and what it really means about your progress, okay? By the end, you'll understand how to move past this phase and just simply start speaking again with more confidence and fluently. If this is the first time that you're joining one of the live sessions, please feel free to join the chat. Tell me what's your biggest problem at the moment improving your confidence speaking English, and what are you doing at the moment to improve your English? Okay, let's begin. Look, if you've been studying English for a while, you've been working on your confidence and fluency, you need to understand that if you are currently stagnating, if you feel that you're not improving, it doesn't mean that you're bad at languages. It doesn't mean that you're slow. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It doesn't mean that uh, you can't. What it means is that you haven't failed. Sorry, I need to just turn off. You haven't failed, but you do need to find a new way to learn. Okay? Think about it. I have talked about this a lot in my previous training sessions. You'll find the links below. Think about it when you're working out, right? A lot of people today want big muscles, biceps, okay? And you need to exercise. To get big biceps. Look, I'm not a fitness coach, but everyone knows if you want to build muscles, you need to eat well, and you also need to constantly lift more weights. Okay, if you lift the same amount of weight the whole time, you're not going to improve. Remember your brain. So, we've been talking about your brain a lot lately, and the way that you think, the way that you perceive learning English, the way that you're learning, for you to understand your mind, how it works, because this will ultimately lead you to English fluency. If you haven't watched those videos, check out the mindset videos and also the belief systems. So, how you talk to yourself, it really does matter. You'll find them in the description below. Watch it after this video, okay? But basically, if you are not challenging yourself, if you're focused on only passive learning, so only watching videos, reading books, listening to podcasts, look, this is helpful. It does help you. They do build knowledge in your head, but they rarely force you to speak, okay? They don't force you to move your mouth. To speak fluently, if you really feel that you're stuck, improving your spoken English, it's because you're not moving your mouth. You're not training your brain to react in real time to real conversations, and your confidence and fluency is not improving. Okay? So, speaking a language is not just about understanding it, okay? It's a lot more. You need to be using the language. We have passive learning. Passive learning is great. You need to do passive learning, but remember, you need a balance. So, passive learning is important for you to build vocabulary, to identify phrases, grammatical structures, and to continue learning new vocab, new grammar, intonation, tone, just simply new life skills that you could use in the English language. But you also need active learning. Okay, you need to be actively speaking consistently, something we've talked a lot about in these training sessions. I'm just going to put it out there, quick question. If you are watching, can you please tell me, guys, in the chat or in the comments below, how often are you speaking English? Is it every day, every second day, once a month? How often are you speaking? Look, if you aren't spending enough time on active learning, your brain is stuck. It's stuck, and that's probably why you're stuck at the moment, and why you feel that you're struggling to speak because you haven't actually, you're not training that muscle to speak more, to interact, to use the language. Okay. The more you speak, the better you get. Okay, I want to give you an example of a student of mine, of Anna. She contacted me because she felt like this. She knew English. She's working in an English company, but she she looked like the language prodigy. Okay, guys. So she'd been studying for years, uh, but she had a problem. Okay, she she had impressive skills. She could read heaps of books, she could understand them all, she could watch movies, she could understand everything in English, and she could explain all these tricky grammar rules, everything in detail. But there was a problem, she couldn't speak. Every time she tried to speak, something in her brain just froze. She froze up. So, for example, she'd tell me when I'd go out, Adriana. So she was living in the US. I go out, order coffee. I just freeze. I know how to do it. I've practiced this. I've tried speaking in public, but whenever I go to say that sentence out loud, it's so nerve wracking for me. Just telling me, okay. She would search her brain endlessly for perfect words, perfect sentences, and she just couldn't do it. Okay. But on paper, usually in my sessions, I ask people, and you've also seen this a lot in previous training sessions, the importance of writing as well to improve your speaking. Her written English was fantastic. Okay. It wasn't a problem for her to do the written homework. But in in speaking, that's where all the problems happened. Okay. She felt like her English was getting worse because, yeah, she could write really well. But when it came to speaking, it's just she felt like she was in kindergarten, let's say, okay? Not even in primary school. And I suggested to her, after just seeing this that, "Look, mm, it's great. She's reading a lot, she's listening a lot, she understands a lot of English, but a big problem is that she's not actively using her spoken English." Okay? So, a big it's easier said than done, okay? I completely understand this. I've seen this situation also in myself learning the Croatian language. Uh, when I was in a language course here, I remember a lot of students, I learned the language differently compared to other students here. So, me personally, I scored really high in communication, in comprehension, in writing, but I scored really low in grammar. Okay, but because I'd learned and I'd fixed this with time, but I remember I even failed. So in Australia, the pass rate at uni back then was 40%, and I remember I got 49%. I'm like, yes, I know 41% for the grammar. I shouldn't really joke about this, but it is what it is. I hope you can learn from this lesson. And I remember I was like, "Yes, I passed 41%. How fantastic." I knew my grammar wasn't good, guys, okay? I'd learned Croatian up until then, simply being immersed in the language, not reading a book or anything, traveling here, speaking with family, with friends, no rules or systems. That's how I'd learned the language up until then. And I was really proud of my 41% considering that I'd never studied the grammar rules. And when I saw that it was a fail, I was like, I, I, pretty much I'm going to cry now. I wanted to cry because I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to pass the Croatic committees. I need to get this certificate to live here. And I was not happy about it at all. Now I laugh about it. Um, we have talked about this in the past about mistakes, how they're really important for learning and they're life lessons that you can take in your language learning. So even though I have this feeling that I want to cry, but I'm laughing now, this is the mindset shift I do talk about in one of my previous sessions. Go check it out after this video. Okay, but basically, I remember other students there, right? They learn differently. And they all got like, it's really hard to score high in Croatian grammar, okay? It's harder than English grammar. Do a Google search on it. It's very complex. You have a lot of declinations, blah, blah, blah. And they all got like 95%, 96%. And these people, the other students couldn't read, they couldn't speak, they couldn't have conversations, but they were acing these tests. And I'm like, oh, now I feel so silly. I feel so dumb. Like, okay, I can go out and live in this country and I can communicate, but I scored so bad in grammar. Okay. So I needed to find balance, right? Balance between my ability, and my teacher told me that as well then. Look, you speak, you live here, you do everything, which was different, because of my history, the way that I learn, I understand my brain and how I best function, but I really need to focus on the grammar because I could have, and I did have, communication problems because of bad grammar. So I needed to take a step back, and I did talk about this before. So I started reading a lot of newspapers. I started analyzing the grammar, and I started actively learning that grammar. But a lot of you have the opposite situation because you don't put yourself out in these speaking situations. Whereas I'm that type of person, I like to put myself out in these speaking situations. Even I remember a conversation I had up in at one time I was in Austria for a bit. I know minimal German, and I remember with a Russian student, we use our hands and legs. She couldn't speak English, I couldn't speak Russian, and we were communicating with a German that we knew, okay, because we wanted to genuinely connect, and used what we knew, which was very minimal, but we had a conversation, okay. Uh, I remember friends like, "You look so silly on the street doing whatever," but it's fantastic that you have this motivation to speak, okay? So understand what type of learner you are. It can be great. I have the complete opposite to Anna, my student of mine. So she had the problem of creating these speaking opportunities, but she needed to make a decision to change her mindset, how she perceived these situations, and go about it. Whereas with me, I had those speaking opportunities, but I lacked grammar. And the grammar really, I needed to work on this so that I could have effective communication in the Croatian language and get what I needed to get done so that people can understand me. People couldn't, they could understand me, but miscommunication did happen because of my incorrect use of grammar. Okay. So I decided to read, actively learn grammar, and actively use that grammar, not passively. Okay. See what words I'm using? Actively learn, actively use, actively understand. Also, compared to the students in my language course, then when I remember in the speaking sections. So we did have that grammar test, but then we also had speaking and listening elements. So on the flip side, I scored really high on the speaking and listening. But in comparison, some of my students really struggled with the listening comprehension and the speaking. Okay. And this is probably what you have as well, because like my colleagues in that language course, you also were not exposing yourself to speak the language. Also, hmm, sorry, let me just go back to this. Also, you need to understand that speaking a foreign language, it really is a skill, okay? Like any skill. And it does grow and improve when you practice, when you nurture it, and you use it in the real world, okay? Sometimes you just need someone to guide you, to help you. Sometimes you need someone to push you, give you the silent, or just tell you. Okay, so there's nothing bad if someone tells you, hey, go out there, make a speaking opportunity for yourself, right? Okay, go and do it. For me, I understood going back to 15 years ago when I was in that language course, there was about 15, 16 of us students from different parts of the world. And as English is a common second language for many people to communicate and interact in, during the class was held in Croatian, but you have a break, you have lunch, and the students were interacting in English. And I automatically clicked in my head. I'm like, okay, a lot of you, depending on your goals and what you want, sometimes I should talk about this maybe in another video, but the importance of saying no, no, aligned with your goals of learning to speak and to interact. Now, why do I say this? Then I had a choice, okay? When you're in a language course, you're going to be I'm specifically now talking to you if you are in Australia, you're watching from the UK, the US, an English-speaking country, okay? And I come from an immigrant family, and I know that a lot of immigrants do this in Australia. I grew up in Australia with a lot of immigrants, and the easy option, which makes sense completely because we always want the easy option. The easy option is to connect with someone in the language that you're familiar with and use it and sort of delay. I'm not saying that you don't want to learn English, you do, but it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy learning a second language, okay? And it's just easier. Oh, we're from the same country. Let's just connect and speak in the language that we know. It's completely normal. And, I'd seen this growing up in Australia that a lot of immigrants do this, and when I migrated to Croatia, I chose not to go down this route. So, I said I wouldn't say I said no to socializing with people in that language course. I did socialize, but I was selective, aligned with my, goal of wanting to speak Croatian fluently because I want to get a better job, okay? Pretty simple. So, I chose to say no to some opportunities in my life then to connect, to create speaking opportunities with other Croatians, okay? Not a lot of students, maybe you watching this video, you may post or find on social media, I want a speaking partner. I want to practice. Can you correct me? I didn't look for these opportunities. I just looked to generally connect with people with similar hobbies and interests to me. Okay. It was not easy. It was hard. Okay. I really needed this because my speaking was getting worse because of my grammar. Right. So I remember joining a gym that was interesting. Going to if you're living in an English speaking country, right, join a gym, a group class in English with music pumping back in the background and you working out. It's harder. It's hard. It's, I'd swear here, but I can't. I'm on YouTube live. It's really, really, really hard. Okay. Uh, that was challenging. And finally, I managed to understand the instructor. I joined some meetups. I'd taken some educational classes in I can't remember the topics now, but I enrolled in some courses in Croatian, connected with people. And when I was connecting, of course, I had the issue of, okay, when you are speaking to people, you will always have the problem, accent, vocabulary, forgetting words, had this. But if you do have a goal, so you've sort of linked two goals together. Here, one, you're learning a new skill, and two, you're connecting with people in that language, target language that you want to learn, right? So when I was connecting with people, okay, oh, I can see you have an accent. Where are you from? And the conversation would start. Okay, so it's generally a conversation starter when someone meets me in Croatian. They hear my accent, and I've perfected the grammar on that one. Where am I from? Blah blah blah, and that whole story that goes along with that. Just getting that speaking opportunity really helps me for my job and work. And think about this, if you have a job interview, you will be asked about your past. So just going out there, creating a speaking opportunity based on your needs with people out there. So for example, it could be at a gym, at a class, group class. It could be group class. When I say gyms, I don't mean go lift weights by yourself. Do a group class. There's lots of book clubs, meetups, book reading. Look at local libraries. Local libraries really have a lot on, and try to generally start those conversations. Now, when I did suggest this to Anna, she's like, I'm scared. What are people going to laugh at me? Been there, done that. You will feel fear, but do you want to be scared your whole life? Or do you want to really get over that fear and Do something meaningful in the English language. Think about yourself, think about your mindset, what you want to do, etc. Okay. Anyway, that was one long rant. I think I need to have a break. If you do have any questions, please leave them in the chat here. Look, sometimes you will laugh at yourself. You're going to make lots of mistakes. I made heaps of mistakes. Learn to laugh at yourself and understand that active learning is not easy. It's just like going to the gym and lifting weights. Your muscles will hurt, just like your brain will hurt. Okay, but if you really feel like your speaking is getting worse, you need to mm, use that muscle, use a mouth muscle, and start speaking. Look, when I'm saying that you need more active learning, I'm not telling you to stop passively learning the language, okay? I'm not saying stop reading, stop listening, stop watching. This is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that sure, you can still watch movies, you can still read books, you can still listen to podcasts. It is really important, but try to incorporate more active learning. Okay. So how do you make this switch? So incorporate more active learning. Now, it's not going to be easy. You need to start step by step. Okay. You're going to need to train your brain to remember and recall the words and phrases. Okay. And this will help you build confidence and just finally turn all that knowledge in your brain into fluent conversations. You need to start today by speaking out loud every single day. Okay, there's no perfect opportunity. A lot of you are waiting for a perfect conversation partner. No, try talking to yourself. Stand in front of a mirror, talk to yourself in the English language. Okay, when you hear something, try talk to yourself in English, okay? You may think you sound a little bit crazy, okay? Maybe someone sees you, they think you're crazy as well. That's good because you're improving, okay? You're working on yourself. Speak to yourself, summarize what you hear. You can practice by yourself or you can shadow. For example, shadowing, copying rhythm and pronunciation of what you're listening to is a great way also. If you feel that you're not that creative to be speaking to yourself, having conversations, try shadowing. Remember, shadowing is where you choose an audio, you listen to it, and you repeat. You can role play different life situations. For example, buying a bus ticket, holding a presentation. You can practice conversation with your husband, wife, partner, parents, sisters, brothers, family members, etc. You can record yourself. So, record yourself listening to yourself speak. Self-recording, you may feel a little bit shy, intimidated, listening to yourself, completely normal. Try, it does help you. But when you do listen to yourself, pay attention to pronunciation, to your grammar, to any hesitations that you make. Okay. Remember though, if you don't create a habit, okay, if you don't do this every day, you're not going to see the results. Okay. Your speaking will get worse. You do need to do the daily work. It's that simple. How long you ask? If you're starting out 2 minutes a day, after a month, do 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes of active studying is more than enough. Okay. Stand in front of that mirror in the morning before you brush your teeth and say, hey, my name's Adriana. I have blonde hair, green eyes, I have one nose. Just start describing what you see and then talk to yourself about your day out loud, not in your head. Okay. Keep speaking, keep practicing, open your mouth wide and clear. I just saw I had lipstick on my teeth. That's interesting. Okay. Still have some, sorry. But keep speaking, keep practicing, and you'll get there. Okay. If one day you don't do it, pick yourself up tomorrow and say, okay, it happened. Yesterday I didn't do the work. Today's a new day. Let's go. All right. I hope you enjoyed this training. I hope you learned something useful. Again, I'll be in the comments below this video. Make sure to check out the other trainings here as part of this series. It will help you to find your voice, to find your confidence, so that you can go out, have meaningful conversations, and share your knowledge with the world. Thank you for being here. Wishing you all a lovely day. Bye for now.